I'm going to demonstrate the 3-needle bind-off technique. I've just knitted a few rows here on 20 stitches on a circular needle. You would often use this method when you're working on just a pair of straight needles, but I'm using a circular needle for this demonstration. Now, I've got 20 stitches and I'm going to split these into 2 sets of 10 stitches by pulling the cable through at the 10 stitch point. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So there's the point where I'm going to pull my cable through. Now, often you would use this technique to join shoulder stitches, the front stitches and the back stitches of shoulder, and they would have been knitted separately. So you wouldn't be doing what I'm doing here, which is using one set of stitches to demonstrate the technique. And ordinarily in 3-needle bind-off, it is the right sides of the work are held together. So in fact this is incorrect at the moment because this is my right side. I'm doing this on flat stockinette. So I need to turn that to the inside. At the moment I've got the bumps, the purl bumps, the reverse stocking stitch on the inside, so I'm just going to turn that so that the flat stocking stitch is to the inside now, and then I'm pulling the stitches onto the needle so that then that's as though I've got 2 pieces of knitting on 2 straight needles, ready to be joined together with the 3-needle cast off or bind off technique. We say cast off here in the UK, but I'm getting used to calling it a bind off. And then the technique, it works by knitting 2 stitches together. I'm holding the stitches as I would hold any stitches that I'm ready to knit. So they're on the passive needle, and if you're a right-handed knitter you'll be holding this in your left hand. So what we do is we enter into the first stitch on the front needle, and then we enter into the first stitch on the back needle with our working needle, and then we wrap the yarn. I'm showing this English method, but it works continental method as well, of course. And then we've knitted those 2 stitches together, pull them off the needle, and then the next 2 stitches the same way. The first stitch from the front needle and the first stitch from the back needle, go into them with your working needle just as though you're going to knit them, and then wrap the yarn and pull the stitch through them and take both stitches off the needles. So now I've got 2 stitches on my working needle, and just as in an ordinary cast off technique, an ordinary bind off technique, I'm going to take the first of those stitches over the second, and then the remainder of the cast off, the bind off, the 3-needle cast off is the same as I've just done there. Enter the stitch on the front needle, enter the first stitch on the back needle, wrap the yarn to knit those 2 stitches together. It's just like a knit 2 together, except that the 2 stitches that you're knitting together are on 2 different needles rather than on one needle. And then take the first stitch on the working needle and lift it over the second stitch on the working needle. And I'm just going to carry on and finish this row so that you can see this technique being worked a few times. So knit those 2 stitches together, pass the first stitch over the second, knit those 2 stitches together, pass the first stitch over the second, and then we get to the end. I'm going to turn this inside, well, the right side out again so that you can see how it looks. It's basically forming a knitted seam. So instead of sewing a seam at the shoulder on a garment, you would knit the seam. So there we are, I've finished. I might just finish that by pulling the yarn through those final stitches. And then there's the cast off, the bind off chain that I've just worked. And if I turn it inside out, you can see what a neat seam that forms. And this is the technique that I use on the back of the test slipper, and I also use it on the seams, the shoulder seams of a Great British Knit. There you are, 3 needle bind off. Thank you very much everyone.